Right, I'll talk a little bit about the use of support equipment with partial range deadlift. Now, even if you don't like support equipment in principle, and you like to do most of your lifts raw, you know, no belt, no wraps, etc., nothing on the hands, basically, when it comes to actually performing partials, there are a number of good reasons for using support equipment of one form or another. Firstly, because it's a partial range motion and you can put on more weight than your body is acclimatized to lifting at full range, the chances of you overloading yourself are reasonably high. I don't mean to suggest that will cause an injury. However, the chances of injury go up the harder you work with an exercise like this, and you want to try and minimize that. So if that means putting on knee wraps, a belt, hand wraps because your grip's failing you or whatever, then when it comes to partials, I really see no problem with it. Even if, as I say, you train at full range raw all the time, with partials, it's a good idea to play safe and put equipment on. I mean, just here, I just happen to have a standard belt. It's not particularly thick. It's not particularly, sort of wide either. It's not like a specialist powerlifting or strongman belt. If I just put that on there, it gives a little bit of support to my back, and perhaps just as importantly, although I won't talk about support equipment in depth here, it gives my stomach something to press against when I'm lifting, and that makes me far more solid in the core, and thus it's safer for me to lift. I'll also pop on some hand wraps here. With the weight up, I mean, I've taken the weight up a little bit there just to show you. This is about 200 kilos on the bar. So realistically, I don't actually need support equipment here, but support equipment comes into play relative to your own strength, not some arbitrary figure. It's not that you put it on at 100 kilos or 225 pounds or something. Generally speaking, my rule of thumb, as I say, I'll talk about it in another time, but my rule of thumb is if you're going to be lifting above about 85% of your maximum, it's a good idea to put support equipment on, certainly if you feel the need for it. And if you're lifting under about 85% of your maximum, personally I avoid it because I don't want to rely on it. I want to rely on my muscles. I just use it basically as a safety mechanism for when I'm really trying to push myself. Usually if I'm going for a new PB, I will put support equipment on regardless, because by default I'm trying something that I've never achieved before. Now with this, okay, I've got a belt on. There are better belts, but this will do. Wraps, all I'm going to do, I'll lift sumo from this. I just wrap these around the bar, pop it in my hand so that I can wind it up and tighten. Do the same on the other side. I'm not going to bother with knee wraps. I will demonstrate those at another point. As I'm lifting sumo, I've got a reasonably wide stance. Get my hands in a position where I'm happy with them. Tighten up. Take a breath. Now this is a weight, as I say, I can manage relatively comfortably, but you can see that it helps to have the wraps to take a little bit of the tension off my grip, the belt to support my back a little bit. If I didn't know I had such strong knees, I would be putting wraps on there, basically relying on support equipment just to protect me a little bit from unexpected strains. As I say, even if you like lifting raw all the time off the ground, when it comes to heavy partials, when it comes to trying weights you've never experienced on the body before, don't be shy of using support equipment. You can always get used to it and then take it off again and try it without. But if in doubt, safety first.